The farewell party. The crystal chandeliers of Westfield Capital's executive floor cast a golden glow across the gathering, transforming the normally austere conference room into something almost magical. Zoe Blackwell smoothed down her emerald cocktail dress, a splurge she'd justified as her farewell gift to herself, and tried to appear comfortable amid the senior executives who had barely acknowledged her existence during her 4 years at the firm. "To Zoe," announced Melanie from Human Resources, raising a champagne flute, "whose financial models revolutionized our approach to emerging markets. San Francisco is gaining a star, and we are certainly losing one." Polite applause rippled through the room. Zoe smiled graciously, though she knew most of these people had only learned her name when her resignation letter hit their desks. "Most, but not all. Ms. Blackwell's analytical skills will indeed be missed," came a deep voice from the back of the room. The crowd parted like the Red Sea as Jackson Reed moved forward, his 6'3" frame commanding attention without effort. At 38, the CEO of Westfield Capital carried his success like a perfectly tailored suit, which, incidentally, he was wearing. Charcoal gray, probably Tom Ford, Zoe noted absently. "Though I believe revolutionary might be generous," he continued with the hint of a smile. "Let's call her work thoroughly competent." The room chuckled. In Jackson's world, this passed for high praise. Zoe raised her glass in mock salute, familiar with his particular brand of restrained approval. For 4 years, she had decoded his minimal feedback, translated his curt emails, and somehow managed to thrive under his exacting standards. "Thank you, Mr. Reed," she replied evenly. "I'll add thoroughly competent to my resume immediately." Another ripple of laughter, slightly more genuine this time. Jackson's steely blue eyes met hers with something that might have been amusement, though with him, it was always difficult to tell. As the evening progressed and the champagne flowed more freely, the crowd thinned until only the younger staff remained, plus Jackson, unusually relaxed as he nursed a whiskey in the corner. Zoe found herself gravitating toward him, emboldened by Bubbles and the knowledge that in 36 hours, she would be 3,000 miles away. "You're not usually one for office parties," she observed, leaning against the wall beside him. "You're not usually one for expensive French champagne," he countered, nodding toward her glass. "That's your 4th. Zoe blinked. "You've been counting?" "I noticed details, Miss Blackwell. It's why I'm successful." "Zoe," she corrected, "I don't work for you anymore. Not as of 5 p.m. today." Something shifted in his expression. A subtle change she might have missed if she hadn't spent 4 years studying his micro-expressions across conference tables. "Zoe," he conceded, her name sounding different in his voice. "Are you having second thoughts about California?" She shook her head. "I need this move. New challenges, new perspectives. And it has nothing to do with running from something here." His question was pointed, his gaze steady. Zoe felt heat rise to her cheeks. "I'm not running. I'm advancing. There's a difference." "Is there?" Jackson swirled his whiskey thoughtfully. "The promotion I offered would have advanced your career considerably." "Under your shadow," Zoe countered softly. "I need to know I can succeed on my own merits, not as Jackson Reed's protege." For a moment, real emotion flickered across his face. Respect, perhaps, or something more complex. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual inscrutable expression. "The car service is waiting downstairs," he said, finishing his drink. "Allow me to give you a ride home." A farewell gesture. Perhaps it was the champagne. Perhaps it was the bittersweet feeling of endings. Whatever the reason, Zoe found herself accepting, following Jackson's tall figure into the private elevator that whispered shut behind them. In the confined space, she became acutely aware of his cologne, sandalwood, and something distinctly masculine. The air between them seemed to charge with unspoken possibilities, 4 years of professional tension transforming into something decidedly unprofessional. "I have always respected your work, Zoe," Jackson said quietly as the elevator descended. "More than you know." When their eyes met this time, the carefully maintained boundaries between them began to dissolve. His usual cool detachment had warmed into something that made Zoe's heart race. The sleek black car was waiting as promised. As the city lights blurred past the tinted windows, neither spoke. Words seemed suddenly inadequate, the silence between them electric with potential. When they reached her apartment building, Jackson walked her to the door, a gentleman to the last. Zoe turned to say goodbye but found herself unable to form the words. "This is inappropriate," he murmured, even as he stepped closer. "Completely," she agreed, reaching for his tie. Their first kiss tasted of whiskey and champagne and 4 years of denied attraction. Tomorrow would bring regrets and complications and her flight to a new life. But tonight, just for tonight, Zoe allowed herself this one moment of beautiful recklessness with the man she'd spent years pretending not to want. New beginnings interrupted. 3 months into her new position at Hawthorne Financial in San Francisco, Zoe had established a comfortable routine. Her waterfront apartment offered spectacular bay views. Her team respected her expertise, and most importantly, she'd almost stopped thinking about that night with Jackson Reed. Almost. Tuesday morning, Zoe stared at the pregnancy test on her bathroom counter, the 2 pink lines unmistakable against the white plastic. She took a shaky breath and slid down to sit on the cool tile floor. "This isn't happening," she whispered to the empty bathroom. But it was. 3 tests confirmed it. The night she'd meant to leave behind, her single moment of weakness, had followed her across the country. At work, Zoe moved through her day in a daze, nodding mechanically through meetings while her mind calculated timelines and possibilities. During her lunch break, she researched her options, the reality of her situation sinking in with each passing hour. That evening, an email notification chimed on her phone. The subject line made her freeze. San Francisco Conference, Westfield Capital Delegation. Jackson was coming to San Francisco next week for the Global Finance Summit. Zoe's hand instinctively moved to her still flat stomach. She had decisions to make, not just about the pregnancy, but about whether the father had a right to know. She drafted and deleted 12 different messages to Jackson before finally setting her phone aside. This wasn't news to deliver electronically. If she was going to tell him, and that remained a significant if, it would need to be in person. As she watched the sun set over the Golden Gate Bridge from her window, Zoe wrestled with her options. Her career trajectory, her independence, her carefully constructed new life. Everything would change, regardless of what she decided. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister. "How's SF treating you? Still happy with your great escape?" Zoe stared at the message, unable to formulate a response that wouldn't sound like a cry for help. Instead, she opened her calendar and marked the dates of the finance summit, circling the welcome reception where she knew she'd inevitably face Jackson. 2 pink lines. Such tiny marks to completely redirect the course of a life. Confrontation and confusion. The Global Finance Summit reception sparkled with wealth and ambition. Zoe navigated the crowd in a loose-fitting navy dress, her pregnancy still her secret alone. She spotted Jackson immediately, his commanding presence impossible to miss as he conversed with industry leaders. When his eyes met hers across the room, the world seemed to stop momentarily. He excused himself and made his way toward her with deliberate steps. "Ms. Blackwell," he greeted her formally, though his eyes held questions. "California seems to agree with you." "In some ways," she replied, declining the champagne from a passing waiter. "Could we speak privately?" Minutes later, they stood in a quiet terrace garden overlooking the city. Jackson waited expectantly, his usual patience tinged with unusual tension. "I wasn't sure whether to tell you," Zoe began, her practiced speech evaporating. "But you have a right to know." "Know what?" "I'm pregnant." The words hung between them. From that night, Jackson's expression shifted through multiple emotions before settling into something unreadable. "You're certain?" 12 weeks, she confirmed. "I've already had the first ultrasound." He was quiet for so long that Zoe prepared herself for rejection or denial. Instead, he asked, "Have you decided what you want to do?" "I'm keeping the baby," she stated firmly. "I don't expect anything from you. I just thought you should—" "I want to be involved," he interrupted, his voice surprisingly gentle. "Whatever that looks like." Zoe blinked in confusion. "This isn't a merger negotiation, Jackson." "I'm aware," he said, tension visible in his jaw. "This is my child too. I'd like to propose a practical arrangement for co-parenting." "Co-parenting?" Zoe repeated, bewildered by his calm response. "Unless you'd prefer I wasn't involved?" His question carried unexpected vulnerability. "I just didn't expect you to want—" She trailed off. "There's a great deal you don't know about me, Zoe." Something in his voice made her look closer, and she glimpsed uncertainty beneath his controlled exterior. My father wasn't present in my life. I won't repeat that pattern. As Jackson outlined his logical, organized approach to their situation, Zoe found herself wondering if there might be more beneath his pragmatism.